Good morning, everyone. Should I join online or just watch it? But just watch it, I think. Megan's online, Connor's online, Autumn's online, David Wells online. Have a good online people. That's the link in Facebook. I don't know. Is this a launch or in the link? I don't know. I'm a horrible technology. So, good morning, everybody. Today, inspections, and we have Matt with Wynn Inspections here. He's going to kind of take over.
Okay, from the front or?
Yeah, you can take
camera?
it. Yeah, you can
Okay.
take it. And it should follow.
We got, okay,
Mhm. Can everybody see him?
if I stand way back here, can I see my head? All right, my head is, okay, cool. All right, hello, everyone. My name is Matt, and I'm with Wynn Home Inspection. Wynn Home Inspection is a franchise. It's been around since the 90s. It was started up by a realtor. Due to back in the day, she was not happy with the punch list home inspections that were being done at that time. So she started her own home inspection business and that kind of grew from there. So I've been in business for about 15 years now, and I've done this class a couple of times before, but the format's been, the venue's been a little different. So the first time I did it, it was more of a, the last time I did it, we sat around the conference table, so it was like a table discussion. And then we've also done, I was with a discussion with the mortgage person, and so this is yet another different way of doing things today. So we'll do the best we can. I'm pretty different next time that since with all the tech that I see in here, I can bring in some pictures. So have you done my contract? Have you had a home inspection done? You scheduled already?
Yeah.
Okay.
One.
All right.
She had her first listing and closed it.
Let's go. Okay. So
So she hasn't done the buyer site yet, and then you've got quite a few people online.
yes. Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing David and Connor and Autumn. Okay. Very good. So so you were on the listing side on that?
Yes,
So what was your experience with that?
well, his house was perfect, so I really left the house, and they find everything.
Oh, yeah.
And then he, OCD'd it and knocked everything off the list before they took over, but it was good. It was very good.
Okay. Any concerns you had about the, what happened during the home inspection process or?
No.
Okay, okay, okay. So, the first thing I was asked to mention or talk about is what a home inspection is. So every home inspector out there has quite a little bit of a different take on what their definition of a home inspection is, but I'll just tell you mine. So, basically, the way I look at a home inspection is a snapshot in time as to the safety and physical condition of the home and its immediate surroundings, so the home and the yard. And the purpose of a home inspection, of course, is to detail what is happening with the home, the condition that it's in, but it's also to help your client understand what they're getting ready to buy or getting ready to sell. It's to educate your client in the process. So they know after the home inspection, what's doing well right now, what's in great shape, maintenance items that need to be addressed, safety issues. So they have a better understanding of what typically is the biggest investment for, a person in our society. So a home inspection in our state, or in Kansas, Missouri, it's a visual, non-invasive inspection. So it's basically what we can see and touch and interact with, but we don't go beyond that. So I don't know if anybody's seen, that sort of like homes on homes, any of those. So he was a home inspector and a contractor in Canada, and so he was pulling panels off, he was tearing holes in walls and things that we can't do that. Especially on the buyer side, because we do not own the home that we are inspecting. So we can only see what we can see, again, without further invasive reviews. Now, we can recommend those after the initial inspection. So visual, non-invasive. Now, one thing I like to do is compare the home inspector to, in the medical profession, you have the family practitioner, the doctor that knows a little bit about everything. That when you go in for your physical or for your yearly checkup, if they find issue, they usually refer you to a specialist, right? Okay. Same thing happens in the home inspection world. A lot of us know a little bit about a lot of things, but none of us are professionals, licensed contractors in one area, at least most of us aren't. And so when we see issues, a lot of times we aren't going to recommend the specific fix, but we will refer the client to a professional, a foundation contractor or a heating fueling contractor to look at that further and get the fixes needed. So that's a little bit about what a home inspection is. Anybody, any questions or anything at that point? Questions? Okay. So the next question I was asked, or what I was asked to share is, what do we actually look at? So what I do is I look for basically anything that I can see and I can touch and interact with, I am going to report on with the home. So site conditions, what does the yard look like? What does the area around the home look like? The foundation, is water draining away from the home or is it draining towards the foundation? We're going to look at utilities connections. How do the utilities come to the home? Gas, water, electric. We will look at the foundation. We'll look at how the foundation was constructed. We will look at its condition. And a lot of times, well, in addition to home inspection, a lot of times people look at a home inspection as basically a critique of the home. But also part of a home inspection is basically narrating how it was built. So the materials, what kind of roof does it have? How was it built? Was it built with wood construction? Some of these homes I've seen are basically built out of concrete. Some homes have steel components. So we basically list and narrate how it was constructed. We look at the foundation, the roof. We look at get on the roof if we can. Some home inspectors use drones if they can. But we look at the material, the roof material condition. We look at the gutters. We make sure the gutters are clean. We look at all the vents. And then we go to the interior side of the home. And then we're looking at the structural components. We're looking at the walls, the ceilings, all the rooms, kitchens, bathrooms, laundry rooms, the garages. We get into the attic. We look at the fireplaces, the basements. So all the rooms in the home we go through and look at. Were you there when they did yours?
No.
You're listening? Okay. You will be on the buyer side, so
Yeah.
you'll get to see how all this goes.
Yeah.
And then we look at the plumbing. What kind of water lines are going into the home? What are the waste lines composed of? What kind of materials are those? We run, most home inspectors will run all of the fixtures in the home. Flush all the toilets, fill up all the tubs, drain them. And then we'll test all the sump pumps. And basically what we're doing is making sure all the fixtures work. You're getting both hot and cold water at the fixtures. We're looking to make sure there aren't any leaks anywhere in the fixtures or the drain lines. Electrical is another big component of the home inspection. We'll be looking at the breaker panel, what's behind the breaker panel. We'll be testing the electrical outlets, light fixtures, the electrical wiring. Heating and cooling is another component. We'll be looking at the furnace, the AC system, the vents. We'll make sure that they're actually functional. So, and then, we also look at, the fixed appliances in the home, which is typically the stove, the microwave, dishwasher, the fridge that's staying, and then, we rarely look at laundry appliances unless we know they are staying, because, in most cases, the laundry appliance, follow the seller to the next property. So that gives you kind of a bird's eye view or kind of an idea of what we do when we are, conducting a home inspection. Any questions at this point or comments?
We checking. And also checking the.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
We got online.
Yeah, no online questions yet.
Okay, so with the home inspection, I discussed what we call the primary inspection, but there are all kind of ancillary inspections that can also be done at the same time the home inspection is conducted. And a lot of these, probably the most common are a termite or a wood destroying organism inspection. That is a separate inspection, and there's a separate fee paid for that. And termite inspector will go in and check for any live termites, wood destroying organisms that could be in the home or evidence in the yard. That's important because if wood destroying organisms, termites get into the home, they can start eating the wood, which can compromise the structural integrity if too many of those get in there. A radon test is another very common inspection of a test that is done. If you look at like the Kansas State K-State website regarding radon, you will see that in our area, due to the geology, to the ground, the limestone and whatnot, our area it has higher incidence of radon in homes than in other areas of the US. And so and if you drive down the street, you've probably seen homes that look like a little, for lack of a better word, it looks like a little white mushroom on the side of the home with white pipes coming up and going out. That's what a typical radon mitigation system looks like. And in some neighborhoods, you will see them on maybe every second or third home. So that's kind of how you can tell, especially in established neighborhood, whether there is a chance that radon levels could be high underneath the soil there. Another one is a sewer inspection, and this is in addition to making sure that the seats and the drains are draining properly. With a sewer inspection, you have usually it's a plumber that goes in, they'll open up the waste line, the main waste line, and they will run a camera from the home all the way to the street, to the city sewer system, and they'll be looking for cracks, tree roots, structural integrity, and then they'll report on the overall condition of the sewer line. This is really important, especially on older homes, because as homes continue to age, and as the sewer line gets older, more and more things can happen. Tree roots, those little trees that were planted in the front yard 40 years ago are now these big oak trees. And the roots, especially if you have a clay sewer line, like to go in, especially where there's water. So sometimes you can find roots in the line. So it's always a good idea, especially if you're on the buying side, to recommend a sewer inspection to your buyers. A mold inspection. So there was a comment about a musty odor this morning. So if you come into a home and there is, if there's something on the seller's disclosure where there's been previous water intrusion into the basement or previous plumbing issues that have happened, that have repaired, or if you notice, if your nose starts telling you there's something going on, must or whatever, it wouldn't be about that idea to have a dedicated mold inspection done. And this is where a separate inspector comes in. They will there's several different inspectors that we have used. Some of them go in and they will take air samples. I use a mold inspection service that has, that uses, dogs that are trained to find live mold behind walls and things we normally can't see. So there's several different ways that this can be done. And so then if there is, and this is especially important, if you have clients that have high allergy sensitivity, sometimes people that, a little mold or, fungal activity won't bother them, but there are some that are severely allergic to that, depending on what it is. So if you know, better you know your client. And then if you know a client that has those allergies, you might want to consider having one that, even if the home looks like it's in great shape, because sometimes there are things that are behind walls that we normally can't see, so. Septic inspection, that is another one for rural properties. Some counties actually require that. So for Johnson County, I know septic inspections are required for all real estate transactions. That's a separate inspection. Sometimes we have clients that want a dedicated fireplace inspection. This is in addition to what we do. So when I do a fireplace inspection, I'll look at the fireplace, the opening, the gas logs, or the gas components, if there is one. I'll look to see how far up the chimney I can look, and then if I can get on top of the roof, I can look and see how far down the chimney I can go. But there are dedicated fireplace inspections where you have a chimney sweep come out that can actually use cameras to go up and down the flues. And see more things than we can as home inspectors, but visual non-invasive that I talked about earlier. This is a little more invasive, so it's a separate inspection, but it can be a good idea, especially if your buyer is buying a home with an older masonry fireplace and chimney structure. As those get older, there's cracks and things that can happen in the masonry that a lot of times we can't see unless with the camera. Unless they run the camera up and like that. Structural engineer, that's another one. Now, in our area, especially with clay and expensive soils, foundation issues can be common, especially as the home continues to age. And so sometimes, in fact, there's a lot of older homes, it's not uncommon to see on the seller disclosure that there have been previous foundation repairs made, there's tears or, cracks in the seal. But then if you or your buyer is concerned about the state of the foundation, if you're during the showing, you're going through, you see cracks and, either on the exterior or, on the interior of the home, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a structural engineer, look at that. It's a separate inspection, but they can tell you exactly what is going on with the foundation, why it happened, and then they'll make specific recommendations for repair. As home inspectors, unless we're a structural engineer, then we can tell you, yes, there's cracks, there's movement, but then we recommend you to the specialist. Now, if you are buying a home and you're under contract for maybe you have a 5-day window to get all your inspections done. If you have that structural engineer in there ahead of time, then that's less time. You have to wait for them to come in and do their job and get the results in before negotiations take place. Couple of others, the pool inspections, that can be a separate inspection. And then occasionally you might have a buyer that is concerned about lead or asbestos, which can be common in these older homes. And so you can have separate inspections conducted where somebody will come in and take samples and just see what, this is especially common for homes like out in Brookside, homes built in the 20s and, where, lead paint and asbestos materials were more commonly used back in the day. Okay, so we talked about what a home inspection is. We talked about some of the ancillary inspections that can be done in addition and beyond the standard home inspection. Any questions at this point or comments? Okay, is everybody still awake?
Yeah, yeah. You know, I think probably.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, like, overall, what percentage of houses do you see that have issues with foundation or termites or?
Sure, yes, I think that's a good question. So, I would say, let's start with termite. When I see, I would say when we're doing a home and the termite inspector comes in and does their inspection, 90% of the time, they'll either find live termites, or they will say, no live termites, but it's been previously treated. Okay, so about 90% of the time, especially if the home's over 5-6 years of age and beyond. So there are some homes where, and they're the exception rather than the rule, where it's 20-30 years old. The termite inspector goes through, sees no evidence of termite activity, no evidence of previous treatment, and he says, it's fine, just keep on your hand. So they are out there, but just where we are right now, there is the old saying that if your home does not have termites, it will someday.
Yeah.
And so that's why almost every termite inspector will recommend annual inspections and maintenance. But usually we will see either live activity, evidence of previous activity, or previous treatment. So.
The termites don't die, they just move, right?
What's that?
They just move, like how, like, once you treat, then they move on, or do they physically die?
Well, so when they treat around the foundation, the chemical, you'll hear a chemical called Termidor, which is basically the standard chemical. When they drill and they put that in, it basically kills all the termites, all the colonies around the foundation. It kills everything. And that type of chemical can last for, I don't know, there's some of them have a 5-year guarantee, some of them 10-year. So it lasts for a while. So the termites don't actually move. Okay, because it killed everything around that foundation. Now, you might still have them in the yard, because I mean, they go wherever there's dead wood. So there's an old wood pile in the back, or if you have an old tree that was cut down, the stuff's still there. They'll still be around. They just won't be around the foundation anymore, which is where we don't want them to be. We don't care about the backyard necessarily, but we don't want them around the foundation. So you asked about termite, and I'm sorry, what was your other question?
Foundation, like.
Foundation, that's another one. I've seen foundation cracks. Now, again, this is more the exception rather than the rule on homes that are only a couple years old. So now, not all foundation cracks are structural issues. If you're walking around and you see something that looks a little hairline cracked where you can't put your fingernail, then that could have happened when the foundation was first poured. They call it a curing crack. And the bigger issues or the cracks that seem to be more structurally related. If you see them close to a foundation corner, if you see cracks anywhere where they're more than 1/4 inch wide, or if you happen to be in the basement and you see a crack that kind of diagonal, maybe there's one on this side and one on this side, the foundation wall is moving. So, and again, because of the type of soils that we have, after about 5 or 6 years, you can start noticing, cracks and whatnot developing. Now, usually, not every foundation that has cracks require major curing and bracing. A lot of times we'll see a foundation contractor come in or a structural engineer, and they say, well, I got it smooth slightly, that's common, and they'll just recommend sealing it. If there's water coming into those cracks, the primary fix for that is what they call epoxy injection. And it works a lot better than caulk or sealant, because once that is injected in there, it should never leak again unless the foundation moves. So just because there are cracks in the foundation does not mean the transaction has to be a showstopper, because a lot of times it could just be, it may just need some packaging, some sealant. And then, all right, so yes, about termite and foundation and what was the other?
So far,
Okay.
thank you.
Radon, I will tell you that radon tests, when we conduct a radon test, I would say 50% of the tests come up high. and again, this is just where we are. Radon mitigation systems, typically start at around $800 or $900. So they don't necessarily break the bank. There are newer homes being constructed where the home, basically the system's been, the plumbing for the systems has already been installed. So everything's in place. If it comes back high, they just put in the active fan that actually draws air from the foundation and out. And so installing a system in a new home will be a little less expensive if they already have the plumbing components in place.
So if the home does not meet the radon qualifications or whatever, then it never will?
No, so we can talk about radon qualifications.
Like, yeah, yes, keep going.
No, go ahead. I just want to make sure I understand the question.
Okay, so like if you test, you said 50%, if it was tested and they said, no, this house is good to go, it doesn't show evidence of radon, then it never ever will in the future?
I would say, well, usually if it's test low and it's really low, if you do another test, then most likely it can be low. Now, I have seen homes where on the sellage disclosure, they said it was low, but then when we tested it, it came back a little higher. The radon levels they fluctuate according to weather.
Oh,
You know, if you have major, repairs or updates done to your foundation, like you put on in addition, then that changes, what's happening with radon coming through. So, if you look at the EPA, or the K-State website for radon, they recommend testing about maybe every 3-5 years or something. So, yeah. Now, I will tell you, depending on the foundation, so if you are testing radon in a home with a full basement, there are higher instances of a test coming back high than if you were testing a home that was built on a slab. Now, I have seen instances where the home is on a crawl space or a slab and the tests still come back high, but there is less instances of high levels of radon there than, say, maybe a full basement. There is the misnomer that if you have a walkout basement, you don't have radon issues, and that's not necessarily the case either. So my home that I had previous to the one we have now had a walkout basement. When we tested, it was in the 4s. So there's a strange terminology as far as radon levels and what they test for. The unit is called a picocurie. It's called picocuries per liter. I'm not going to test you on that, but so basically anything over a 4 is where in our country is where the EPA recommends having a mitigation system put in place. If it's between a 4 and a 2, then usually the test results, the verbiage at the bottom will say, all right, it came back lower than the threshold, but there's still some things that could be done if you're concerned about radon. And if you saw a system, you could lower levels, but basically, in the real world, anything over a 4 is where we recommend.
Our new
it's all-
house is just automatically outfitted with radon mitigation system.
So newer homes, the plumbing and the exhaust systems, a lot of times are put in. Very rarely will I see a new home where the builder puts in the actual suction fan. So, and of course, with the builder, at least the one I've seen, you pay for everything. You pay for your garage door openers, if you want garage door openers or screens or whatever. So it's the same thing. Now, those things are, $300-400. So again, they're not, but they won't break the bank if they have to be installed. A new system where they have to run all the lines and the electric, again, minimum, you're looking about $800 or $900 right now. So,
Thank you.
any other questions about,
Hey, Matt, can you hear me?
yes,
Okay, perfect. Hey, I had a quick question about sewer inspections. I was just wondering, when the sewer pipe is leading to the street, at what point is it the homeowner or the city's, I guess, fault? And if there is like a crack or something in the sewer line that's close to where the city's part, will they help pay for the if there's a crack or something like that?
great question. Very good question. And for the most part, the line running from the home to the street, to the line, usually that section of the line is the homeowner's responsibility. Anything at the city connection where the line connects, so if it was a connection issue, then, that can go either way. So it's a hard question to ask because it depends more on jurisdiction than anything else. I don't do my own sewer inspections. I use subcontractors. I have 3 or 4 inspectors that that I hire. And they tell, so when that question is asked after the inspection has been completed and there are known issues, a lot of times if there's a problem right at the connection, then sometimes I've heard that, the city can take care of it. Sometimes I've heard that that's still the property owner's responsibility. Sometimes it's the, property owner responsible, up until it hits the street. And then once, everything under the street and to the line and to the city line is the city's responsibility. But then sometimes you have a case where the property owner is still responsible for everything under the street to where it connects, but then who pays for digging up and repairing the street? So again, it really depends on jurisdiction. And then most of your the sewer inspectors, I use hydrophysics, Ken Strain cleaning, sewer doctors. Sometimes they can tell you they've done so many of these things over the years that they can give you a better idea. And if you still can't get the information that you need, a lot of times contacting the city will be able to answer your questions. But I'm sorry, I wish there was a really concise, clear answer to that. But again, bottom line, it really depends on which city you're in, because they all kind of have their own guidelines there. So. Does that help? Did you have any other questions or any other comments? Okay. Any other questions or comments or?
Okay,
Sure.
I do, okay, so if you are representing a buyer, do you recommend a pre-inspection or do you have a checklist for?
A pre-inspection on a home that,
Like, just to make sure, so that they aren't alarmed. Well, I guess that might be a question for you guys.
No, in this current market, and I don't know if you do this, Matt, but because some buyers are having to say, I'll do inspections, but I won't, that as is addendum. So remember 1, 2, and 3. 1 is I'll do inspections and I won't ask for anything or I'll cancel. Number 2 is I'll do inspections just for my own, but I can't cancel. I'm gonna take it as is. Number 3 is I won't do any inspections and I'll take the house as is. So what some buyers to win a house are doing is there are some inspectors that will go on a showing appointment and do a limited inspection so that the buyer has some idea. Because in order to win, this house is gonna have 45 multiple offers.
Yeah, right.
And they know they're gonna have to really go in and not ask for anything or not even do inspections. So there are some things you can do, whether that's enough or not. I don't know, I'm sure Matt has the same feeling I do. A deal without inspections is scary because we can't see behind walls.
Right.
We can't, so you want to know as much about the health of the house that you're buying as possible. Now, as a listing agent, I always wanted myself to do a pre-listing
Okay,
inspection.
that was good, yeah.
Because you were so fortunate, Leah, that your first listing was immaculate.
Right.
Most are.
No, I know. I was thinking about, I know.
So far from that, most are a lot of neglected maintenance, deferred maintenance and everything, so, and when we wait as listing agents and sellers to find out what's wrong with our house, we lose our negotiating power.
Yeah.
And a buyer will always ask for more money than what the repair is actually going to cost, and usually they double it. So as a seller, you're setting yourself up for one, surprises, two, to have to make more costly repairs probably, or give up more money, because you didn't know before you listed your house and put it out there what was really wrong with it, because most homeowners, Matt, would you agree, most homeowners don't have a clue
Right.
the forecast of their home. They only know when something breaks and they
Yeah.
have to call somebody to fix it. Right. But up until then, you're not. Do you go look at all your systems? Go, oh, I think everything's looking okay. I don't know what to look at.
Yeah.
Unless there's something obvious, wrong or broken. So most of us kind of do our best to take care of our houses, but most homeowners do not know. They just honestly do not know. Would you agree, Matt?
I agree. And a lot of problems that they happen really slowly over a period of time. So you really don't know, unless, a water pipe breaks. But a lot of times, things happen and, when you're walking through your home every day and things are changing real speed, you just don't notice it. So your question,
I think I was meeting on the seller's side.
on the seller side, so a pre-listing inspection, we do those. And again, like Kristen said, that's good for your seller because your seller knows, all right, this is what's going on. And so we know how to negotiate if, a buyer comes in and wants $5,000 for plumbing repairs and it's only $100 with a, with a handy person,
That's what they'll do. The buyer then looks for an opportunity, and then you also have to remember, most likely, they're paying top dollar for that house. So the minute they see or hear things wrong with that house, then they want to recoup back some of that big offer they made, even if it's not all direct dollar to dollar for the repairs. I can't tell you how many times I hear an agent say, well, my buyer wants $10,000. And I said, well, do you have repairs for that? No, but they want some additional money off. I'm like, no, what is this for? But that's in your mind. You're like, well, wait a minute, this isn't a perfect house. I'm paying over list price, maybe by thousands of dollars. Well, wait, so that's where we have to be very careful. And that's why I think it is always behooves us to strongly recommend to our sellers and explain the value of the pre-inspection. Don't just offer it and adjust it, you really have to push the value. Also, the other thing, Matt, is that when there are no inspections done on a house, and just because a buyer signs it in its present condition, they get into that house and find things wrong that they believe the seller should have disclosed. You're talking lawsuits. Right. And so a house without inspections, either pre-inspections or no buyer inspections, is a high-risk transaction from my perspective, and it should be from yours. It should be something that gives you a little heartburn, a lot of heartburn.
How many years are you on the line?
It depends, it depends on the jurisdiction of how far back you can go on an issue or on a transaction. But know that it happens, as a broker, it happens all the time. It was like the number one issue, or number one or two would be post-closing issues.
Yeah.
So you think, so a seller thinks, God, this is great, they're not gonna do any inspections. I think that should make you like wanna pass it out.
Yeah.
That's not actually a good thing because they're not protecting themselves legally. Because again, like we were discussing, most homeowners don't know the workings of their house. And so what a buyer assumes they should know and what they know, and then what they disclose on their seller's disclosure. I will guarantee you almost every buyer that has a post-closing issue truly believes the seller knew. I heard it time and time, it was seller knew. Seller knew. Not necessarily, the basement flooded, the seller knew. Well, they lived in the house for 2 years and we had a horrible drought the last 2 years. They probably didn't know what they did. I mean, it gets in their head. Right. Yes, they were lying to me the whole time. So it's, you have to, as an agent, not just say, well, you should do pre-inspection. Here's why. There are concrete reasons it's in your best, interest as a seller to do it. One will be in a stronger negotiating position, and to Matt's point, either you, it also gives the seller choices. Think about it. And if the seller knows items in the house that need to be addressed, they can fix everything on that pre-inspection report. Take it off the table, right? Or they can fix some of the things and then get bids for the others so that a buyer can't say, I want double what this repair should be. No, we have estimates. And we price the house according to knowing these things, fixing these things and knowing these things. Make sense?
Yeah.
So that makes and it also makes us more valuable.
Right.
When we're protecting a seller at that level, instead of saying, oh, they just didn't want to spend the money for pre-inspections. There's some things I'll go to the mat over. Inspections are one of them, either pre-inspections or buyer inspections. And of course, it's always our client's choice in the end, but it is really how persuasive and how we're showing the value of these things that in the end it protects them.
Yeah. Because how much are your services?
So a home inspection, let's say 2,000 square foot home or less than 3,000, average price is around 385, 395. A
Oh,
lot of
wow.
home inspectors, charge by square footage. Some of them, like the higher, the bigger the home, the more, we charge. Some inspectors will also charge by age as well. So if you're doing a home built 1900, you might pay a little more than a home that was built last year. So, but you're looking at average price, here in Kansas City, you're looking at 385 roughly on average for a home less than 3,000 square feet.
And does it last? How long are you there?
So my home inspections last for about, so again, less than 3,000 square feet. Let's say the home's been built for the last 20 years. I'm usually there for about 2.5 hours. If the buyer's there and the buyer's there the whole time and they have a lot of questions, they can kind of go up to maybe 3. So it's about, 2.5, 3 hours roughly. Now, I'm doing a home today, 8,000 square feet, built in the 1920s, so that's 6 hours, 6, 7 hours.
That's a huge house.
Yeah,
And then very old.
it is.
Where is it?
It is, it's going to be in the Brookside area, so it's about 10 minutes from here, I think, so. Yeah, so, but then sometimes you'll see a home that's like, it's like a glorified apartment, where we're in and out an hour, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, slab, so. We do a lot of condo inspections and those, usually last for about an hour on average, because we're just doing the internal components.
And then do people walk around with you the whole time, or what do you like?
Well, some people that are very visually oriented, detail oriented will walk around. And then if that's the way they're wired, I'm fine with that, but I prefer that they're there when I'm doing the inspection, but while I'm doing the inspection, they're getting to know the house they're buying. So they're measuring, they're playing with the garage doors, they're walking around the backyard, and then we spend, a good half hour together with the summary.
You do not want your buyers following the inspector around. It'll take twice as long. They need to focus.
Right.
They need to focus because if they are stopped and they could miss something because Matt, I'm sure, has a process and he sticks to that process of how he goes about inspecting that house. I do this, I do this, I do this. And if he's interrupted all the time, something could be missed.
Right,
So you don't want that, and as a buyer's agent, you need to be setting those expectations of, hey, you know what? I want you here. It's also the time, like Matt was just saying, it's also the time in which you want your buyers to fall deeper in love with this house. It is the most time you're gonna spend in this house before they own it,
okay.
right? They might have seen it for 15 to 30 minutes before they put an offer in. Crazy talk,
Yeah.
right? If you really think about it.
Right.
So I make sure that they have measured any big furniture and that they're gonna see what room. I tell them I want them dreaming about how they're gonna furnish each room. If they wanna bring paint swabs and just kind of hold them up and look around. I encourage them to take pictures and videos of every single room, because again, they may not be in this house again for 30 days. And the pictures online don't show you where every closet or window is, and they're gonna forget. So they're like, they need to do window coverings. I want to measure those windows. Because they can't come in and out of this house after inspections, and nothing's vacant. They're gonna have to, they can't disturb the sellers. You know what? I forgot to measure that window. Can I come back and then bring my family? No.
Right, okay. Okay, that's,
So a good tool to have in your purse or bag is a tape measure.
And a laser measure.
Laser measure, yeah, and then they can be entertained for hours, you know. But you can get a little bit different.
Actually, Matthew would love it. I bring food and beverage for the inspector and my buyers and me, because we're gonna be there for a while. So I make it a very, I want everybody happy. I don't want anybody hungry, hangry. And it's just a elevated customer experience I try to provide. I bring bagels or pastries or whatever, and make everybody happy. And I want my inspector to be happy too.
So you probably figure the caffeinated beverage for the inspector, so they're awake and they. That's awesome. That's awesome. Any other questions along that line of what we were just talking about? Okay. Then I heard Kristen mention, you know, if you know you're going to have to waive the inspection to win the contract, then there are some inspectors that will do what they call a walk and talk, where we're at the showing, we're walking around, we're looking at what's going on, just giving you, just especially talking to your client, and they got the pad, they're writing things down. We don't pull out our camera, we don't pull out any tools, so it's just walking around the home. Just so your buyer gets somewhat of an idea of any potential things. A lot of times when we're at a property, there are signs and there's hints that something might be going on, even though we haven't opened anything up. Or just, so. Okay, so I want to list a few things that a home inspection is not, okay? So first of all, a home inspection is not a guarantee. So it's a snapshot in time. Things change, and sometimes things can change pretty rapidly. I remember the second year I was in the business, this was during the drought season. We inspected a home, we saw some cracks in the foundation, took some pictures of them. Buyer knew about it, so a week later, the buyer had the foundation contractor come in to make estimates for the repair, and some of these cracks had opened up another inch or so, you know, just it missed that much, you know, in 2 weeks. There have been times where I've done an inspection where the buyer that I did the inspection for walked, either financing fell through or, and so another buyer came in, saw our inspection report, that was part of the disclosure, and they asked us to come in, pay an additional fee just to walk around with them and explain our report. And so as we're walking around, there was one time where I was walking around, I showed them where the main water shutoff valve, and it was dripping. And back in my inspection report, the picture I took, there was no problem with it. So things can change over time. So long story short, it's not a guarantee that the home is going to stay that way after the inspection.
Even in the next day, something can occur.
Right. Mhm.
Something can occur. It is truly just a snapshot in time of the health of the house at that moment.
So along with that is not a warranty. You know, there's a lot of warranty companies out there. Some home inspectors will give the buyer what kind of 90-day limited warranty to kind of handle any potential nuisance issues that show up, but a home inspection itself is not a warranty. Home inspection is not an appraisal. You know, we're not there to tell you how much the home is worth. That's for the appraiser. In our area here in Kansas City, we do not list repair estimates on our reports. There are some states, I think Florida might be one, where you list the issues, you give them the repair estimates, but in our area, no estimates are given. as you get more seasoned in the business, and you start calling around, to different contractors, you will find there's a very wide range of what it would cost to fix something, whether you're using a handy person to handle a few minor plumbing issues, or whether you call in a licensed plumbing contractor as part of the union, there's a big range there. So that's one of the reasons why it's hard for us to, give you repair estimates. It's not a code inspection. Okay, we are not code inspectors. We do not work for the city. If we were code inspectors and we did a home out in Brookside, the whole home would fail. Because codes change, all the time, yearly, there's new code updates, and cities like Overland Park are more progressive. They'll update, or adopt, the newer code on every 4 or 5 years. So now, we sometimes, if there's an issue that's a code issue, but it's safety, we won't cite the code, we'll cite the safety component. That's the reason why it needs to be fixed. But it's not a code, so a lot of times we'll have a buyer that will call me and we want you to do the inspection, but we want to make sure everything's up to code. So I have to clarify what we do and what we don't do. Okay, now another thing that a home inspection is not, it's not a pass or fail. Sometimes after the inspection, if the buyer's not there, they'll call me up and ask me if it passed. Basically, your buyer is the one that determines whether it passes or fails. So we do not determine that.
And you don't try to, I think good inspectors do a really great job of not trying to scare a buyer. They just want to give them good factual information, because every buyer is different on their risk tolerance. You'll get some out of town people that just a little bit over the radon level, they freak out because they've never heard of radon, and it scares the pants off them, and they think they're gonna find a house in Kansas City without radon. It's just, so it is everybody, and like you said, with allergies, some people, any kind of mold or moisture in that house is gonna be an issue, where other people are like, I don't care if they've a rock foundation weeps a little bit, because that's kind of how it's built, and it's sturdy, but it's not waterproof. So every buyer has a different tolerance of what they're willing to take on in a home. And so you just want really good information that they base that decision on.
Okay.
All right, and a lot of times, you can help, with your client, like if they get scared because all of a sudden they get a home inspection report back that's 20 pages of items, you can kind of control how that goes by, a lot of times, especially first-time home buyers, they get the overwhelm, especially if they're buying a home in Waldo or Brookside. But if you sit down with them and kind of go through everything, let them see everything individually, like, oh, a doorknob that needs repair, nobody's gonna die because of doorknobs. And so you can kind of help itemize, and all right, handy person, you can probably do that yourself. These are the really, and then kind of whittling down to what are the major items that either safety related or can cost a lot of money to fix. And usually that might be 10–50% of what's everything else that's on there, depending on the age of the home. So
The number one thing I would do is like ungrounded outlets. What's your thing, like in regards to?
well, depending on the electrical wiring, so ungrounded outlets, typically you will find those on older homes. The electrical wiring they use, for a certain time period, did not have a ground wire. So unless you ground each one of those, they are going to be ungrounded. So if you're plugging in a lamp or, a small appliance that doesn't have that third ground prong on it, then you're okay. If you're trying to use, a carpet shampoo or something, then it'll work, but it could be unsafe. If you're using, surge protectors for computers, entertainment centers, they do not work. There's power, but they do not trip in the underground equipment. So there's several things that can be done. There are electrical that say replacing those with GFI electrical outlets. So it's not fatal if you have those everywhere. Your buyer just needs to know what they can plug in, what they should. And in the home inspection report, or during the during the, the walkthrough, he kind of explained, yeah, we put something in there, maybe not over here. So, yeah, it's not necessarily fatal, nothing that I would, because, home built before the sixties. It looks like I'm getting proud of that. So,
Matt, thank you. I hope this was helpful for you all. Getting to know inspections, and you'll have to get a feel for what they find and what have you. However, don't mistake that knowledge for expertise. Do not start trying to wear an inspector hat because you've heard an inspector call something out over and over again. You always defer to the experts and don't take that liability on for yourself. So thank you
Do
so
you have
much, Matt.
contact information?
I do, I'll grab a card for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. I
My pleasure.
appreciate it. Thanks, everybody online.
Good question. On, closing on